Hello, and welcome back to the Learn to Hunt series. And today we have a fresh new episode over scouting, shed hunting, and foraging. This is kind of a newer subject that we've been requested to cover, but I think it's perfect for this time of year. And I think it is fun for people that haven't had as much experience hunting, but they can really be more of a gatherer in the hunter-gatherer world. I love it because if I'm out there turkey hunting, I can usually find a snack somewhere, right?
There you go.
Okay, so I have, I should reintroduce myself. I'm Casey Harriet. I'm the R3 coordinator for the state of Oklahoma and National Wild Turkey Federation. R3 stands for recruitment, retention, and reactivation. So essentially, in layman's terms, I help to create programs and initiatives that get people outside and hunting. And today I have with me Jacob Harriet, the Lincoln County Game Warden, and also my husband. And we're going to tackle the shed hunting, scouting, off-season scouting, and foraging series or show.
Yep.
Okay, so go ahead.
It's an awesome time to be out in the woods. A lot of things are changing. You know, it's warming up, the sun's shining, stuff's growing, it's greening up. All your frogs and birds are singing around it. It's just a really fun time to be in the outdoors. And even though, you know, it's not technically a hunting season, you know, besides a few things that you can do, but there's a huge opportunity just to get out there, learn about nature, explore, do some preseason scouting or postseason scouting, depending on which way you want to look at it, and get out there and just have some fun. You know, a lot of people can be intimidated by going out and actually hunting, you know, by taking a firearm out in the woods, but this is low stress. There's no, you know, it's just easy to get out there. You can take your kids, you can take your friends, you can take somebody that's never been off the asphalt in their life and take them out there and just kind of show them the beauty of nature and see kind of what you can learn.
That is true. So I know when we're talking shed hunting and scouting are dang near the same thing because of where you find these sheds, would you say?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, a shed that just tells you that a deer's been there. So you can see a lot of old sign from the hunting season, whether that's old rubs, old scrapes, old beds, or even current beds. And you can kind of learn a lot about what those animals are doing just by going out there and walk around and looking. It seems like a lot of times now during the hunting season, people are trying to stay out of the woods, or they're just walking to get into their hunting spot. They're hunting, then they're going home. They don't really take time to kind of look around and just learn from what nature's telling you. And this is a great time to be able to do that.
Yeah. So we can talk a little bit about the things that we see when we're off-season scouting that kind of will tell us how the wildlife are patterning and such. So
Yep.
Is it true that, you know, on fence lines, you can find sheds a lot of times on fence lines because deer will naturally, when they jump and they clear that fence line and they hit, a lot of times those antlers will just
a big jolt. You know,
off.
when you're looking for sheds, you know, obviously you want to be where deer are. So we're going to look for, you know, high traveled areas. And like she said, by jumping the fence or going underneath the fence, that's just more of a opportunity for those sheds to fall off. But I'm going to look for highly used trails, fence crossings, you know, food sources and bedding areas is kind of the primary thing. But you can find a shed anywhere, but 100% of deer has to be there before to have dropped the shed there. So just look around for deer sign. You can learn a whole bunch this time of year. I know it's not active hunting season, but there's a lot of stuff you can put in your toolbox for the next hunting season to make you more successful. And then finding a shed is just beneficial, you know. So sheds are legal to harvest. I will say that if you find a dead head or a shed that is not naturally detached from the skull plate, you need to get a tag for that. Whether you know, it doesn't count against your limit. You just got to call your local game warden and say, "Hey, I was out shed hunting. I found this head, or I found a broke off antler with the skull on it still, and I wanted to have it." And we are happy to give those tags. It's no big deal. Basically, any sort of wildlife, you just need to be able to prove that you acquired it legally, and that tag does it. It goes into your online account. If another game warden checks you and says, "Hey, you know, it's opening day of deer season. You haven't checked into deer, but you have an antler in the back of your truck with a skull on it. What's going on with that?" Well, they can say, "Oh, well, so-and-so, you know, I called Jacob. He gave me a tag. It's in my account." We can see that. It makes it super easy. It seems like every major poacher I see, they said, "Oh, I just found that head." But, you know, they've poached it, but they're in illegal possession of it because they didn't get the required tag. Because if they would have called us, we would have said, "Well, you know, you shot this thing. You didn't just find it." So just good reasons to have that. So a naturally detached antler, it will have a little, it's called an antler button, where you can see it naturally fell off from there. So these are actually all cut off antlers, so they've been cut off of a deer. Or grab that other one.
Here we go.
You can see that's a pretty good example of what you might find out in the woods with the actual skull plate still attached. So that would be something that you would need to get a tag for. But like I said, it's a no big deal. We do it through our electronic system, easy peasy, and that makes it legal. You cannot sell an antler that is naturally attached to the skull plate. You can sell sheds, however, so make sure you know the difference of that. It's actually illegal to sell any sort of, deer antler or deer skull that is naturally attached to the antler or to the skull plate.
Yeah. Is it true that you can train your dog to hunt sheds?
Yeah. If you have more patience than me, absolutely, you can. You can train those dogs, and they'll actually be able to sniff those antlers out.
They're great for dogs too to chew on.
Yeah. So one thing to think about as we're looking for sheds, I've still seen currently deer holding their antlers still. So not all of them are sheds, but I've also found a lot of shed antlers and heard of people finding a lot of antlers. But when those antlers hit the ground, it doesn't take very long for rodents or coyotes to go out there and start chewing on them, eating them up. So it's even if deer are still holding their antlers, a lot of them have already dropped. So it's a good time to get out there and look.
Yeah. So also during this time, people are turkey hunting. So if you're turkey hunting out there, there's definitely a good chance that you can find some sheds too.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Keep your eye out for that when you're running through the turkey woods.
Yep.
Okay. Also, so part of the shedding or the shed hunting and the preseason scouting or post or off season scouting is there's a lot of good edible stuff that's coming up right now. So we need to talk about that because that is right now happening. I mean, morel mushrooms probably popping any day now. They might have already. Our property always has them a little bit late. But I wanted to go through. I have a little visual aid here because it's hard to. I mean, there's lots of poisonous mushrooms out there, so always identify what you're going to eat ahead of time. That is very important. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the edible stuff here in Oklahoma that's happening right now. So we have morels, which is the big one. Everybody loves morels, and that's happening now. We always say look for them when the red buds bloom, and they're blooming. So they should be out any day now. I think maybe why they weren't out with us is because we had just done a prescribed burn. Might need some rain. At least that's what our 3-year-old told me.
It's been very dry, so it's we need a little bit of moisture, and I think the temperature's there. We just need some moisture to get them popping, and people have been finding them in other parts of the state.
Yeah, and where to find these things? A lot of times they're under cedar trees or hardwood forests. It seems that we always find them a pretty good little cluster under our cedar trees. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then how to cook them. They're so good fried. Everybody fries them, but I learned that you can dehydrate them. Or not, you can dehydrate them, you can saute them, and they dehydrate them and put them in soups throughout the cold season. It's actually pretty good. If you get into a lot and you're just over some fried mushrooms, I mean, you can only eat so much fried stuff. You just kind of got to get creative and put them on pizzas, etc. Yep. But
it's pretty easy. They're delicious, but it's easy to get burnt out on them, especially if you're finding a lot. So being able to preserve them and save them for use year round is huge.
Yeah, it's like feast or famine. They just hit hard, and then you just burn through them in a month, and then they're gone until next year.
Yep.
Another popular mushroom is an oyster mushroom. I see these a lot, but I have never. I guess it might have been where I used to live, but they're pretty prevalent in north central Oklahoma, and you can find them on dead trees, mostly oaks and stumps. I don't personally know how to cook these things myself, but nothing Pinterest or YouTube can fix for you.
Yep, I've never found one.
You've never found them?
Nope.
Ponca City area, I was running into those a lot in the wooded areas along the creek or the little creeks and stuff, because there's not a whole lot of trees up there, but the ones that are there are along the creek sides. Okay, so the other one that I want to get my hands on so bad is chicken of the woods. Have you heard of this?
I've heard of them. I've never found them.
You've never had any?
They look good. It looks like I could just eat that thing the way it is.
People fry these up like chicken fried steak and put them on sandwiches. I guess that's an excellent source of, I don't even know if are they carbs? Are they protein? I don't know what.
That's all that matters. They're good.
Yeah. But I would love to try this. But they are in the Ozarks in eastern Oklahoma. So I have a friend down in Broken Bow that she finds these all the time. And I'm just drooling. I need to go down there and get some with her. But they grow on down trees and other hardwoods and dead conifer stumps. They come in summer and fall, so we're not necessarily spring. But this is one that's kind of a little different than the morel mushrooms. You'll find them, the second part of the season, the year. and they're amazing fried. So that one, and there's pretty obvious. They have that really bright orange color to them, and then that yellow around the edges, and they're big. Like you can find them, and they're pretty good size too. Okay, another one that I have seen these forever because I'm from eastern Oklahoma, and I had no idea that they were edible, but it's called sheep's head or hen of the woods. And they appear in late summer and early fall, so kind of like when the chicken of the woods does. And eastern Oklahoma, and they appear in clusters at bases of oak trees and dead stumps. And I can confirm they were every time I saw them, they weren't on a dead tree. They were just at the base of an oak tree. And they are really good fried up and sauteed as well. Okay, so those are like the fun guys of the group. Now we got to talk about some fruits.
Yeah. So, blackberries, very apparent. There's also another berry that looks just like a blackberry, but it's a dewberry. Blackberries are usually more in open, sunny areas. Dewberries are more of a woodland. Both of them are delicious. There's nothing better than a blackberry or dewberry cobbler. They're just terrific. We have sand plums as well. All of them really, really good. Hard to go hard to go wrong with. Mulberries will also be coming out. I saw the mulberry trees are already leafing out, so it won't be long. We'll have some mulberries. Also, just redbud. The actual flowers of a redbud. My son is a redbud eating fool.
Our 3-year-old or our 1-year-old is a redbud eating fool.
Yeah,
too,
so that I'll just break a twig off and they'll gnaw the buds off the twig, and they're really good. And you can make jellies and jams as well. But yeah, just really good. Another one my son really likes, and we're kind of getting right on that point, is greenbrier. So greenbrier is that thorny, kind of nasty looking vine that's got thorns all over it that really sucks to walk through. But the fresh sprouts are fantastic to eat. They taste just like asparagus. They grow in little short shoots. Well, eventually they will grow thorns, but the thorns are still soft, and you can actually eat them in the early stages of development. And they're good for us to eat, and also they are a huge food source for deer year round, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But usually this time of year, my son is looking for mushrooms, redbuds, and greenbrier to snack on. So
I guess we have so the dewberries and the blackberries are like they're two different subspecies or something. But the dewberries always show up first on our place, and they're always kind of like this viney. They're more viney looking, and they have little thorns and stuff on them too. But they're viney and they're smaller, so they're like these little. I don't know, smaller than like a little bitty gumball. But they're on like field edges and roadsides and stuff, and a much different appearance than like a blackberry mott.
Usually you don't find the dewberries in like the large like motts of blackberries. The blackberries will be a big stalk, big bunch, and they grow outward.
Big berry.
Dewberries are usually more in the woods, kind of viney, going up trees or just crawling along the ground, and really good. Do be cautious because for whatever reason, you got to be careful because it always seems like the biggest, prettiest berry is going to be surrounded by a bunch of poison oak. So be cautious of poison oak while you're out there picking this stuff. But
yeah, and so you can always eat your dewberries first, and then when those about expired, that's when the big blackberries come in to play. So kind of handy how that all plays out. Another one we have is sand plums. And that's these guys over here, and they come in motts. They're like small shrubs. They ripen in June to August, so we have them all summer long. And sand plum jelly, my goodness, if you haven't had that, it's amazing. And they're just good little, more like larger than, even more like a gumball size, I would say. Yep. And they are a treat to have. Yep. They're also great for wildlife. All these things that we talk about are great for wildlife. If they're edible and delicious to us, they're going to be delicious for wildlife.
Yep. So sand plums are really, they can grow into trees, but really they're kind of a shrubby plant. We have another native plum to Oklahoma called the Mexican plum, and it is actually more of a woodland tree, and they are very good as well. They're not nearly prolific fruiters as the sand plums would be, but they still put off a small plum that is very delicious.
Yeah. Okay. Here's a persimmon. So we talked about scouting, off-season scouting, and that's one of the things that you can be looking for are persimmon trees. I wish I had a picture of the bark because the bark is pretty
real blocky black bark.
Yeah, it stands out. It's very distinct, and it has the bark itself is kind of like it looks like you took little, like you said, blocks and just stacked them along each other. Very different than anything else. And there's usually not just one around; there'll be many around.
They grow communally. Normally, it's kind of a wet-rooted crop around moist areas, but I've seen them growing out in the middle of dry pastures too. So very adaptable. They grow everywhere. This is one that is not going to have fruit on it right now, but in the fall, especially during hunting season, these things are going to be prolific fruiters. And
Seems like they'd fall during muzzleloader
yeah,
season every
deer
year.
absolutely love them. I absolutely love them. I
Hmm.
will tell you that you do not want to eat a not ripe persimmon. So if it's on the tree and it's hard, do not stick that thing in your mouth or it's going to pucker you up.
What did the Native Americans used to do?
They actually the Native Americans would use those, dry them out, and then use them as pain reliever because they could numb their teeth with it. So if they had a toothache, they could pack that dry persimmon in it, and it would numb their mouth. It will pucker you up, and it'll be something you never forget. So make sure that those things are very ripe and very soft. They do have a bunch of seeds in them that you just spit the seeds out, but they're delicious. It's like a cinnamon and honey goodness, and they
Yeah.
are terrific.
Lots of fall. How many different things have I made with persimmons? My goodness. You can make persimmon bread. You can do jelly, cookies, and you can just eat them plain. They're so yummy. And if you dehydrated them, and they make a really yummy kind of fruit leather
Yep.
too. And it's good to stick in your bag when you're deer hunting
Yeah.
in the fall. They're delicious, and like I said, if that's a really good thing to take note of if you're off-season scouting, is those trees, because guaranteed deer will be passing through them
Yep.
if there's deer around.
And just something to think about too, just because you find a persimmon tree doesn't mean you got guaranteed fruit. So persimmon trees are male and female. Obviously, the males don't produce fruit, but normally they're kind of in clusters, and it's pretty easy to find it. Unless on my place, for whatever reason, it seems like I only have male persimmon trees because they don't really produce fruit. But there's usually some females around that are pretty easy to locate.
Yeah, and they do ripen after first frost, so that's kind of like a rule of thumb too. That we don't really think about it like that, but after the frost, that kind of that'll send anything kind of into a rapid ripe. That's on a tree. So also we have wild grapes. There's tons of varieties here in Oklahoma. What do you call them? Possum grapes?
I always growing
calling
up, we always called them possum grapes. So the grapevines that we have all over the state, you see them, but you usually don't see fruit, and that's mainly because the fruit grows on the older growth. So usually, like high up in the treetops is where the berries are. But if you have a tree that falls down, or some happen to grow eye level, the berries are very unique flavor. They're really good. My son loves to eat them too. We have actually kind of cultivated some, and I trim them up and kind of maintain them at our house so we can have those to snack on. But they're usually kind of a late summer ripening. The birds absolutely destroy them. So if you don't get to them first, the birds and the raccoons and squirrels, everything eats them. But they're really good. They're small. They're probably like pea size,
Yeah.
and they have a large seed in them. But you just eat the whole seed and everything. It's not a problem.
And they're just kind of sweet tart
Yeah.
flavor when you get them ripe. And another cool thing about these wild grapes is if you like to can pickles. Remember what we did with the pickles?
Yep.
So one of the remedies to create like a crisp pickle is to put a wild grape leaf in
Yep.
the
Or
jar when you
any
can.
grape leaf,
Any
but
grape
yeah,
leaf.
yeah.
We just had these, I guess, so we reached for them. But yeah, that was kind of another neat use for them as well. But you can make jams, jellies. They're just little, so it's hard to harvest
A lot
enough
of picking,
them.
but they sure enough grow on a vine just like you see in the movies of the big grapes. They're just a little bitty, about pea size.
Can they kind of take over a tree or anything?
Yeah,
That
I
one
mean,
is taking over, that crepe myrtle that it's on.
the
Almost.
vines will definitely grow over. A lot of people don't like grapevines because they say it kills their trees, and they can. But everything within reason is good. So I like having them around.
Yeah, and these guys, if we didn't mention, they fruit in the summertime, so they'll be kind of prepping up starting right now to start flowering, or not flowering out, but like leafing up and everything, and then you'll have a good little snack in summertime. Okay, so that in the nutshell is the edible varieties of forage that we have here in Oklahoma. There's all sorts of other stuff as far as you almost want to call them weeds, but they're not. There's like yarrow and dandelions. You can make dandelion jelly. People will actually take soft, fresh dandelions and fry them up and then eat them like that. And people say that tastes really good. I've not done that before, but I bet our 3-year-old would get a kick out of that.
Yeah.
We don't have a whole lot of dandelions that pop up on our place.
No, we
But
don't.
when I
have
used to
much.
live in a neighborhood, they were everywhere.
Yeah, well, in mowed yards, they're very apparent. We don't mow at my house, so it's all native habitat, so we don't get a lot of dandelions. But in mowed yards, they're very, very apparent. They're kind of one of the first things that greens up and flowers out. And yeah, there's a whole lot. And she said they're not weeds. They're technically called forbs, but it's a broadleaf plant. All your flowering species of broadleaf plants. But there's a whole lot of them out there, and they're not only good for us, but there's also have a huge wildlife value too. So,
Yeah. So springtime is definitely for the gatherers.
yep.
Our time to shine was was in the winter and the fall, and then the gatherers come out. I try to be a little bit of both, but
Yeah.
man, there's so much out there that's tasty and good for you too. So I suggest you guys get in on this, get some morels, get out there, find where the turkeys are, and see if you can find a shed or two. There's all sorts of fun things you can do with sheds too, like arts and crafts and whatnot. I do think we need to talk a little bit about WMA laws before we wrap this up, though.
Yeah, so on WMAs, it is legal to take sheds. You can take sheds, no problem. That's not an issue. But it is illegal to take any sort of mushrooms or berries or anything like that. And that's basically just because these WMAs are managed and they get so much use that we don't want to deplete that resource. There is some legislation passing or in the process. It is not passed yet, but in the process that has been proposed to allow the non-commercial harvesting of forage edibles, basically. I'm interested to see what that does, but currently on our WMAs, you cannot harvest, mushrooms, persimmons, berries, all that kind of stuff.
But taking
But-
of sheds that don't have skull caps
Yep,
is legal.
sheds are good to go. But just, if you're unsure, you can call. So our WMAs are pretty vast and all across the state. If you're not sure about it, you can always call those guys and make sure how their feelings on it and what their actual ruling is there. But by the book, it is illegal to take those. But on private lands or anything like that, some municipality properties will allow you to do it, but just check with that municipality. It just kind of varies wherever you're at. But there's a lot of opportunity out there for kind of gathering up some yummy stuff out of the woods and kind of making it fun. And like I said, it's great to get somebody out there that knows nothing about the woods. I can take somebody that, has been on asphalt their whole life and take them out in the woods and they just think I'm a genius because I know all this stuff, which I'm absolutely not. I've just been out there more, So it's kind of cool and kind of a good educational spot, especially for kids and stuff. I love watching my kid eat some
Red buds?
red buds. Oh, it's hilarious. He's worse than a goat pulling them thing off the stick.
He wouldn't leave. We were driving the 4-wheel yesterday, and he would not leave me alone for stopping and get some red buds. So we finally did, and we tried. We showed it to Malachi, our youngest, too, and he was eating them up, too. They're really good for you. They have lots of antioxidants, and they're kind of like a little vitamin. They got lots of nutrients in it. Most of this stuff, especially the darker the flavor, the darker the color, has lots of antioxidants. So all this stuff is good for you. And I can't encourage you enough to get out there, walk around, be outside, and find all this yummy edible stuff as you either turkey hunt or look for sheds or anything else, and kind of just keep in mind all the awesome stuff we have here in Oklahoma to enjoy. All right. Well, that does it. That was kind of a shorter episode, but it's just one that people are interested in. So I figured we would cover it. Hopefully you guys have been asking questions in the chat, and we will just field all those as we go, as we type. We have experts that will be answering those questions for you. And if you guys have any suggestions for other classes, please, we're all ears. Shoot me an email. My email is casey.harriet.ctr@odwc.ok.gov. That's a mouthful. Hopefully I can put a little tag down at the bottom. But we are always looking for new ideas and new subjects to cover. So, all right. Well, we're going to send you guys on your way. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next time.
All right. Thanks. Good luck. Have fun.